BP, you want to give it a director's cut? How they do it?
And action, lights, camera, action. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Black Glasses podcast. And
Episode 4. The
what?
conversation is rebuilding yourself while life keeps moving, right? This is a conversation built between real life context from Brian, Joe, and some of our recent conversations, right? The core conversation today is rebuilding yourself, discipline, wasted time, loneliness, accountability, getting older, family pressure, losing things, social media pressure, creating a future, learning to stop drifting through life. This is not successful people pretending they figured out life. This is three regular people honestly realizing that life keeps moving, whether you're ready or not.
Right. Yep.
So,
Well said.
welcome back to the Black Glasses podcast, fellas. Last week, we talked about the world feeling loud, politics, media, AI, everybody reacting to everything. But today, I think the conversation gets more personal, right? Because underneath all the noise, I think a lot of regular people are asking themselves, what is it going to take for me to really get my life together? Right? We're getting older, health is changing, parents are aging, we're trying to make money, we're trying to create something, we're trying to stop wasting time, trying to figure out who we are while the world keeps moving fast. And honestly, we're in that conversation too. So even us doing this podcast, right? This is really our shit. Really us trying to get our shit together, right? Most people only post polished versions after they figure life out. We're kind of figuring out in real time. And honestly, that's been on my mind lately was a conversation with Brian I had the other day that it's been on my mind. And Brian, right, you were frustrated about the direction of the podcast. It honestly like caught me off guard a little bit because I thought we're pretty clear. We're practicing, figuring it out, building something, having fun. We're trying to improve. But underneath, we got to see there's some frustration there. And then I challenged you. Like, what are you willing to bring to this? Right?
Right. Right. That's what you said. So we popped the hood. We weren't exactly expecting a full 4, 5 point, 10 point inspection of our hot rod. And we discovered some so without speaking in code, yeah, Angel and I got into, or I opened some worms up or something. Anyhow, um, and we were actually talking about whether we talk this out not being recorded. This is being recorded. I'm like, let's do this because that's happened. That happened. And what's going to come out of this is some learning for possibly for those who are listening, watching, out there. And dude, let's do this. So
Yeah.
this,
Yeah, we talked about, right? Like you said that, and I just responded to you honestly, and I was like, hey, your way of being sometimes bothers me, right? But I
yeah.
didn't say it to you because I don't care about you, right? It's because I see more in you than what you're stepping into in that conversation.
Yeah, this is that was podcast 3 post post recording, correct? That's just so we're on the same page.
Yeah, yeah, that was just us talking the other
Well,
day.
there was wait, so there was that was Friday, then there was our Wednesday. So what this I see what this is really dancing around is communication and being clear up front, and breakdowns are going to happen, and so yeah, I was voicing some of my frustration, or it could be expectations, or it was just wasn't so clear,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have a social experiment in
Yeah, we're a social experiment.
to an extent. This is a social experiment and whatnot. So we're going to talk this out, and so what you did not hear is what we talked about afterwards, and it was definitely maybe
Well, I think BP, what we realize, right? I think people get it, right? Like, we all want to be a contribution of some sort, right? But I think what you shared when we spoke about this morning as we were getting ready for this podcast, right? Like what was on our mind, I shared with you that, hey, this is still on my mind from the other day. And let's just bring it into the conversation, right? And I think one of the things you shared, what I loved about what you shared was like you realize that like this is it's an unresolved conversation, right? And it quietly affects things in the background. So it's important to have these conversations and to talk about them, right? So you give up, any resentment, any frustration, any pressure, right?
Right.
And I
Yes.
think a lot of people don't actually know how to bring conversations to completion, right? So maybe like this is what the opportunity looks like, right?
Right.
Most people either avoid the conversation, explode emotionally, they silently drift, right? But what
It's
we're
a mess,
talking, but
man.
what we're talking about, right, is having these conversations and bringing them to completion is powerful, right? Gives us an opportunity to move forward, and that's kind of what we're doing.
You
Yeah,
know,
in the
yeah.
fullness of it, the entirety of it. Like there's no time limits in that domain. It's like it's an endless horizon, right? And everybody gets everything out, said, whatever. It doesn't matter what the time length is. When it's over and complete, everybody's together as a unity, everyone's understood, heard, everything's said. And then it's back to the next thing, right? Going forward. But it's so important to allow the time for those conversations without constraints or people saying you get three questions or you get, I've been through situations like that. It doesn't work. Things don't get resolved in the end. You're left with the same thing, leaving it as you went in there with to get rid of. Back to
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah. And even inside like today's conversation, like what does it take to rebuild your life, right? Sometimes it starts with finally having conversations you've been avoiding, right? So,
That's
the
a
conversations you avoid.
I believe that that's a big part of it. That's one major factor is avoiding it um, or not even initiating it, not speaking up in the first place and then either, just being passive and then that aggression can come out. So what's here in my mind right now is either yeah, avoiding it or just out of some sort of, concern, fear or whatever, or just completely not addressing it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I think people have opinions and judgments, right? And you see people putting that stuff out on social media. Maybe that's the way, right? But I think, some of that stuff, I think honestly, a lot of people are quietly drifting, right now, even with their opinions and their judgments, like voicing them, right? It's not really speaking into the matter, right? It doesn't give an opportunity to really
There's
be
no
direct.
depth or there's real
Yeah.
no, it's just back and forth.
They probably don't even know what they're doing. They're drifting. They probably don't even have a term for it of what's
Yeah,
going
I
on.
don't think any of us always, we don't always identify exactly when we're drifting. Hopefully we have someone or something that, hey, man, you're drifting a little bit here, right? Or you have something in the background, or you can do the work, right? The mental work that be like, wow, I drifted there. When I look at who I say I'm going to be, what I said I was going to do, what I'm responsible for, my actions, the words I'm saying, the way I'm being, it's not in alignment. It's moving. It's drifting.
Tangent.
Drifting.
So cool, man. So yeah, so Joe, I know it's been a big conversation for you lately, right? You're looking at your life, you're looking at your choices, looking at your results for in your family, responsibility, discipline, right? And realizing everybody technically gets the same 24 hours you were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
But people create completely different lives within those
Yeah.
24 hours,
Exactly. Same.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were sharing, right?
Huge. Yeah.
24, I think you said
Yeah.
something like in 24 hours, sometimes some people make 24,000 and some people make
Yeah. Because I
millions.
saw yeah. So what I said was take 24 hours and I converted $24. And I have to spend this $24 every day. I spend all $24, right? So where my time goes is what my results are for life. And so it's not so much what I'm doing because everything creates results. It's just it's so well, all of it matters, but saying having the discipline and the control to say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna do this instead of that. The whole discipline of choice. And that's I'm sharpening that saw because the results of my life right now are accumulation of everything before this, where my time is gone. And so everything works for the most part of life, everything works. It's just to different degrees. And where did your time go? And whatever those are, that's the end right there. And Yeah, so making different choices to get more results out of the same amount of time is what I'm looking at to get better, bigger numbers, bigger life. But it's so important to look at, like the way you said it. There's people that have built a tremendous amount of wealth or a big network of people in the same amount of time somebody might have just nothing in that area for them, but they tried. The effectiveness, it all matters. And I don't want to make it complicated in this conversation for myself, but you guys get the point. And it's time to look at that, be aware of it for myself. It's like my life is going forward. No matter, like you said, whether I know it or I don't know it, right? It's going to go forward. So the awareness now is I'm bringing the awareness to that. To my time matters now. Where is the choice of what am I doing with my time in my life? Before this time period right now, I thought about it, looked about it, heard about it, but I didn't have like a no way out. Now I have no way out. I must be looking at that if I'm going to be alive because I'm too old. I'm old now to the point where that's the only thing I can see. I can't look at anything else.
Yeah.
No more shiny balls.
Yeah, I think when we start to look at a conversation about time, things start to hit really hard, right? I think a lot of people avoid honestly looking at their life, because it hurts, right? And then sometimes losing things will wake you up, right?
That's
Especially
right,
like
dude.
you start looking at time. So pain can
Yeah, and
either
a tenure,
destroy
right?
people or it can make us honest, right? Discipline isn't punishment. It's a self-respect.
And
And
I'm
may
lacking
right?
tenure, so go ahead,
Right.
Brian.
And maybe adulthood is realizing nobody can want your life more than we do. And maybe what feels like a loss is actually like life trying to wake you up. Mm. So, and while, us and people, we're trying to figure ourselves out personally, the whole world keeps moving. And I think it's just getting faster, right? AI,
Yeah. Yep.
social media, everyone's becoming a content creator. We're doing content,
Yeah.
trying to make money online. We're watching
Everybody owns a
everybody
business.
else. We're watching everybody else. I'm not sure anyone's watching us yet, right? I think we said we're taking on Joe Rogan podcast.
That's right. Watch out, Joe. We're coming for you.
Yeah, we might want to find someone with, like 12,000 subscribers and start the minor league stuff. All right. So Joe, what's motivating you these days around social media and
Well, the application of it. So basically, what my content is, my self branding, my personal brand is me. And so when I look at me, like, where have I been? Because what am I? I could be all these different words right now, but the point is, like, I have a history of where I've been with the 24 hours. Where has it gone? And OCD is one of them. And I have to manage OCD. It's just a thing that's going to be with me forever, right? And if I manage it, treat it, look at it, I keep it at bay. And that thing's either taking an inch or I'm taking an inch. So that's one thing.
yeah.
Another one's, yeah.
So BP, you think like are you feeling any pressure to, like turn yourself into content now?
The the only pressure or the pressure that I'm feeling right now in regards to turning myself into content is stemming from uh, creating an audience in regards to the business that I'm creating, so more like marketing, marketing material needs to be out there. And I'm not coming from, I'm looking to be an influencer and just have millions of subscribers. I'm coming from I'm looking to connect. There's going to be a very specific audience, I believe, based upon what I'm aiming for. So that content must be there. I mean, if it's not that it must be there, that's one area. I can put out content myself, but like this podcast here, being on other people's podcasts, me creating my bio. Heck, we could create a bio for all three of us, and all three of us could be guests on someone else's podcast. That's another part of social media. And one thing I have not utilized really is the direct messaging, like reaching out, using social media as social media. And that's one thing
Mhm.
that's lacking is the networking part, just reaching out to people who I'm like, these people, I like what they're saying, I like what they're putting out, reaching out to them. So that's where I'm feeling some.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything you're comparing yourself out there? You know?
Oh,
Instead of creating, right? Do you find yourself comparing too much or instead of creating? Or
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of self-critique and whatnot. And apparently it's, 150, 200 videos before things start to really hit. And that may be in the shorts part of it, not the long form like on YouTube, which
oh, it isn't one video?
well, so you know what it is? It is
believe.
part of it is finding my groove, like finding out where I'm comfortable. And so it's watching my videos, watching other people's videos and seeing like where I naturally fall in and like what I can see to do better for sure. So I that's I do not feel like that answered the question specifically.
Well, no, right? The question was, are you comparing yourself to anyone? Like, for
Yeah,
example, right? Like
well,
I bring the
there's
comment up about the one
mm,
video, right?
mm,
When I look at our stuff and we're playing with our podcast, I'm comparing us to like the person who puts the dog video up, right? And gets like 8 million views. And then the next thing you know, like they're the biggest, dog channel on TikTok and, their dog is famous, right? And it all started from like
one
one view,
uh,
one thing. So I think I probably find myself comparing myself
comparing.
to that.
Well, I believe there's ways to go about it, yet there's also original flavor, original recipe, you know?
Yeah.
So it is in the presentation. Yeah, I compare myself all the time. I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. So there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think probably a little bit, right? Like if I was speaking on the comparing, we're generating now, right? But I've spent a lot of time comparing anything I do to a lot of those things, right? But it kind of destroys, kind of puts a lid on self-generating, right? Because that's the conversation I'm having versus the conversation we're having right now, right? Like being in action about it, right? Because your attention becomes fully consumed sometimes by other people's stuff. We stop creating on our own, right? So the opportunity may not be to become famous online, right? The opportunity may be to become just fully ourselves. So this might be one of the greatest opportunities that, regular people have or have ever had to like reinvent themselves these days, right? Because AI is taking over. People are going to be, they talk about us being jobless. What becomes our biggest currency? What's our biggest opportunity right then and there, right? And maybe it's to, become personalities online, build our communities, right? So, what are you hearing, Joe?
And I'm hearing about when you're saying all those things, I'm hearing travel around the world, it's being questioned. Like for myself, at least, I don't want to leave this country because of the just all these things going on. It's like I don't trust any other country to be there. So I got things like that going on in my head because I want to not leave this country, but I want to be able to leave in having the thought, that thought that I just expressed. I don't want that thought in my head. I don't have to leave the country, but I don't have that thought that I can't leave the country. Just the thought is what I don't like.
It's
Um,
funny. I think when we talk about leaving the country, I'm pretty clear. I don't ever want to go live in Russia. I've
Not
never
to
been there.
live,
I don't
just to
care to be
vacation.
there. I never want to go live there. I just don't. Right. I live in America and something I like about America. I don't know that Russia is going to be any better. And then
No, no,
China,
yeah,
I don't think I ever want to go live in China either. Not that I don't care about Chinese people, not that I want to visit, but I want to. Now, South America, Canada, the North Americas, maybe there's some places here and there, I might want to live, I might want to live. But yeah, coming, like circling back a little bit inside this conversation, we're getting older, right? We're
yeah,
getting older,
yeah,
and this conversation starts to feel a little heavier too, you know?
yeah.
Like you brought up, time starts to feel very real.
I need a third
Mhm.
lung,
Yeah,
right? Two
right.
stomachs. Yeah,
We BP, I mean, we're waking up every day. Your parents are getting older, right?
Yes.
I know
Yes.
my body feels a little different. My health matters more. You
yeah.
know, time feels different. Do you guys feel like life is moving faster now?
Yes. Yeah, like it's already Friday. And we just did an episode last Friday. Like we just did a last episode last Friday yesterday.
Yeah. And the markets are moving, wars moving, the defense contracts, politicians are still fighting, like, right? The dog still has to go out and pee.
Benito. Mhm.
Joe's working out his stuff at home with his family. Or what about you, Joe? Do you feel like life's moving fast now?
Yeah, what happened for me with that is like I went to feel like I had all this time in life, like from a young state of mind, like I had every day I had, okay, I still have time. There's time. So the very next day, I woke up one day and the time passed. There was no like middle or I'm here for a time period. Like, okay, now is the moment. I'm trying to say it was like I have all this time, and then all of a sudden I have no time. I went from like young to old with nothing in the middle. Like, oh, I could have kids to oh shit, now I'm too old to have kids, like overnight. Things like that. So in my progression with life and having a tenure with anything other than the drums, I have like a 30-year tenure playing the drums, but that's it. I don't have a work tenure for any sort of skill or anything for work. And just I've had a lot of relationships.
Yeah. Joe, do you think like, we're having this conversation, right, about it's possibly like living intentionally. Do you think you live life intentionally or do you wait to live life intentionally? Do you think, yeah,
I think that I do that I do live life intentionally, and what where the intention goes each day, so comes out in a way like basically my results or my actions of each day are not my intention. Like so, um, fear comes into my head, my life, my days, actions way too much.
yeah.
It changes direction with my patterns and my actions. So I know what I value. I know what my principles are, and what I am, and who others have me as, and I know what I show up at the end of the day as each day. And there's a big spread a lot of times in difference, and I still am the same person, but I ended my day differently, and like scoreboards, um, and actions, goals, just discipline the 24 hours.
So Joe, right? Like I mean, I love what you said, right? I think we all live intentionally, right? We're all living the life that we design based on the actions, things. And I think what's there, right? There's a distinction between living intentionally in alignment with the life you want to live.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's living intentionally and being at the effect of lifing, right?
What I declare, what my game board says, what I
Yeah,
declare.
yeah.
Like that stuff is one thing on the word, and the words at the end of the day, it's a different fucking idea. Excuse me,
Yeah.
altogether. It's
Well,
different.
what about you, BP man? Do you feel like you live in life intentionally?
Sometimes, yes, it's sometimes on, sometimes off. Like I wax on intentionally, then I wax that off, and I'm not being intentional. So
So what causes is the right hand the powerful wax on?
yeah,
So that which
yeah.
is
No,
what causes you to move in that direction or the other?
right, right, dancing. No, the whole the mortality thing, and
Yeah.
so I was living out of the country for a period of time. I came back, and my my dog's face turned white. My dad had started moving slower, and his voice changing, not the puberty kind, you know. And now I've noticed it with my mother, that, and I'm like, they're significantly shorter now than me. So seeing like that's like me, the mortality there, and when it comes to well, so the am I living intentionally? It's right now what my challenge is living intentionally versus just dealing with like I it's it just see it's there's been a huge tipping point. There's a huge tipping point,
Yeah.
and it's
I
right in
mean,
front of
I mean, you shared it, right? Like, I think a lot of stuff that scares people is aging, right? But mortality, right? We start to age, and I mean, that's definitely what you're speaking into, right? So,
us. So if not fully engaging that for what it is has been taking me out. And so that's where the like unintentional living it kind of comes in. I get inside of my head, stop the movement, the action, and then And then that's when complete entropy and atrophy is there. And that does not work because what's needed from here is just it's continued generation, continually generating. And the other day, a quote I read something about life is like a bicycle. You just got to keep riding because if you stop, you fall or you crash, right? So keep on moving.
Yeah, yeah. I think, in this conversation, like, I think people, including us, right, we eventually realize like life's not unlimited,
Mm.
right? That could crush us, that could crush people, or it could wake you up, right? And maybe urgency isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's like life asking, hey, who are you going to become before this thing is over?
Hmm.
Right. And honestly, like this conversation, it keeps bringing me back to one thing, Joe. You brought it up, earlier. Life is a game, right? Not in a fake way, but in the sense that it just keeps moving, man. It's just whether we're ready or not.
There's
So,
such a
what
thing.
is it going to take for people to really step into their lives?
Lower the significance, please. I make things so significant for everyone that they don't get completed, or the attention or fear. I avoid it, and then I'm hurting more, I'm feeling more pain than the pain of feeling it every day. And
Yeah.
it's a brain muscle that can be exercised. New habits, habits around our time, right? Dominate us. We're so unaware of how many there's routines that we're in for like things as they occur to us. You get your mail comes today, the mail, right? Just this envelope, that envelope. You got a way of habit of already dealing. Well, this one goes there. You don't even know it. It's on autopilot. How you think about it, when it's going to go, where how you put it into your schedule, where it's already there. And I have that as well, right? Everyone has that, but mine need to be shifted because like I have bad habits with that. How I allocate, like plan and organize and like all that. I have bad habits with that. So like I need to discipline and control my 24 hours goes into my $24 goes into new habits, good habits with my time
Yeah.
as things come at me every day.
What's it going to take, BP? What's it going to take?
Continued conversation, communication, with support and being open and honest with myself, and people with what's going on and staying in action and the whole communication conversation, right? So, I've opened up some, I would say uncomfortable conversations with my folks around like what's next look like or, like what's the plan just regarding, transition, right? And so this brings it to the forefront. I mean, it's one thing to watch and see, yet it's another thing to, in communication, have a conversation with them talking about death. And so you know, is it going to be a coffin? Is it cremation? The burial plot, and going along with this. So what it's going to take, it's for me, these are things that are having me take some action, and there's a lot more action to be taken. So,
Yeah.
and being able to have some support, some network, some trusted people, it's good to
Yeah.
have community.
Yeah, well, listen, man. I mean, right, we could sit and we can talk about this stuff all day, right? We could look at like what keeps us stuck. Clearly, right? There's some fears, how we manage time, there's our mortality, there's aging, right? We look at what's going to wake people up, right? We know people wake up, right? Every day there's like a wake up, something like, shit, I don't want to live my life like this, or I don't want to do it like this anymore, right? Sometimes that's the wake up, right? And what is it? Life is life. I'm 58 years old, right? I don't know how long I've taken myself seriously or not serious, right? I really can't tell you the truth on that. I think I take myself seriously, right, as a father and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But we talked about something the other day, the three of us. BP, can you Google the word equanimity, right? We shared that word,
Right.
right? Maybe what a, a new possibility. And BP, just once you Google it up, just read it out loud. Right. And
Absolutely.
maybe that's an access, for us while life is lifing and we're dealing with mortality and we're dealing with aging and we're dealing with time and, are we woken up? Are we not woken up? Are we living to our maximum potential? Right. All these things that get in the way moment by moment. Maybe the distinction to implement in that moment is just to be with it. What does it say, BP? What is
You
equanimity?
got equanimity. Equanimity. Use that in a sentence. Equanimity is the mental and emotional stability that allows you to remain calm and composed under stress. It is the ability to navigate life's challenges without losing your balance or reacting with intense emotional extremes. So basically, staying grounded in the present moment without being swayed by praise or criticism, and acknowledging what is happening around you without immediately reacting with hostility, fear, or attachment, and deciding to respond to a situation with wisdom and calm rather than impulsivity or anger.
Bam. Right. When life
And,
is life and in those moments. What else? What
and
else, Brian?
that, acknowledging you for bringing that into the conversation last week or this week when we had our the feedback. So you bringing equanimity into it, it's huge. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, I'll share with you, right? I always wondered in my life, right? People say to me, hey, all this stuff is happening and you kind of stay so calm. And sometimes people experience over there is like, I don't care,
mm,
or I'm not as attached, or because they don't generate the feeling like the same feeling they have, there's a disconnect. What's going on in the moment for me, I heard the word, I'll share with you, heard, right? But I heard it. It's like, but no, I just pause for a second. I'm listening to this conversation. I'm asking myself, is it in alignment with who I say I am want to be? And how do I want to respond to this? Because I don't want this conversation to go backwards. I want it to
mm,
move forward. So I just pause for a second and I can just be with it. Right. But then I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, I watched the show Euphoria, right? And I can't remember what the actress's name or whatever, but someone asked her a question, and then that's when I heard the word for like the very first time. I know
mm,
I've heard it before, but does in her share, I was like, holy shit, that's powerful,
mm,
right? That's powerful distinction to have. So I just got that distinction, for myself just a couple of weeks ago, and then wanted to share it with everyone. So
We-
yeah, maybe that's what it's gonna take, right? In those moments, like life is lifing, we're inside these big conversations, and how do we sit back and just find power in them, right? Or
Remain
not waste
unchanged.
our time, right, Joe? Like you're talking about, like not waste our time and move into another conversation or stay in the loop of a conversation, but bring the distinction, equanimity into a conversation. And does that support you? You know,
Yeah.
while life is always gonna life, there's
Yeah.
always gonna be pressure. There's gonna be fear, aging, uncertainty, failure, loss, all of it, right?
Yeah.
But human beings, man, I think we're incredibly adaptive. I think I've been. I'm sure you guys would say the same thing. You know, we can rebuild ourselves, we can recreate ourselves, we can refocus.
Would you disagree if I said to remain unchanged if I put the equanimity into other words? Remain unchanged. Like it's something I see in executives at companies that I've worked at, corporate, like the guys at the top, the sales leader, right? The VP of sales, whatever it's going to be, and they'll be in the meeting next to me. I remember this guy, Jeff, man, he remained unchanged. He'd be the best sale numbers ever. No expression from him. Worst day ever, no expression. He remained unchanged, and that's the goal of it, is to not get caught up in the moment, the whole energy of the moment, or the get excited. Don't to get a leader has to stay grounded and stable. They remain unchanged. Equanimity has to be present. That's a leader right there. People bouncing around and getting excited and taken out of the out of their neutral zone, that's vulnerability right there. It's not, you have to have a strong, stable, solid vision, leader, follower right there, leader.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my
Yeah,
only word.
I think it's moment by moment, right? Like the opportunity isn't waiting for things like for that particular person to get easier, right? Clearly, whatever was going on wasn't making it easier. But what that person was clear about is what mattered now at that time was he is a sales rep.
Well, yeah, right. What I was just saying is like all the executives, they never got overly out excited, right? For any good or bad moment. It could be a death, somebody, yeah, never just always this neutral zone. That's the goal that I was just striving to be, is to be that way. I always would get very extra on the end of the spectrum, like really happy or really this and that, and not just random change, like mature, like stable, solid statue. That wasn't me. I was always more interactive.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool, man. Well, listen, but before we wrap, right? Let's just be honest, right? I don't think I know I don't really know everything that I'm doing, right? I have a good idea, right? I could definitely step up more, right? I think I don't think that I ever pretend. I'm not a pretender. I'm pretty honest. What do you guys see in that conversation? Do you really know what you're doing? Or
I
are you
don't, bro, and
pretending?
I've always had it, and told Brian this for 6 months now. I have it. That I just have it because it's true. I have a responsibility for an impact on you. And the areas that you spoke to, I'm not saying I'm powerful and you're off because of me. No, what I'm saying is I have an impact on you. I think I faltered you in some way. My my showing upness because I never saw you have a missing or a breakdown or anything until I came
Yeah,
to
yeah. Right? I could ask the question like, do you ever look at somebody and think, damn, they really got their life figured out?
yeah, you did. You're
People look
still
at me
moving,
like
yeah.
that all the time. I tell them all the time, man, I don't have this all figured out.
I get next
Right.
to you, and then I'm like, whoa, I just changed that to my not that I'm negative energy, but like there's an impact, bro. Trust me, it is, and I'm responsible for that.
Yeah. 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 What about you, BP, right?
We're on the pretending. I mean, so what Joe's speaking to right now, after after I shared, expressed myself, my experience of like show number three and some others, I'm like, so afterwards I'm thinking, I'm like, man, dude, that who wants to show up to that? Who wants to go hang out with the dude? So on one end, I'm like, I self-expressed myself. I'm like, this is my experience. The context, I could have set it up because it was like, as I remember it, you're like, hey, what's going on today? I'm like, well, actually, storm clouds come in. So in communication, setting the context up. Yet I'm like, who wants to show up for that, right? So I know that was impacting me, and
Yeah.
in a way, like kind of like incomplete, because we hadn't talked about it, and we're talking about it. We're talking about it now. So
Well, it's funny, right? Because you're probably over there looking at like, man, Angel's got this all figured out. And then here we present these episodes, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, this shit isn't figured it out. Meanwhile over here, what's going on is I'm doing like, I'm not falling apart, right? But privately, right? I got like a dog, a wife, a mother-in-law I got over here.
Our partnership.
Yeah. So, it's all good. One of the things I want to share, right? One of the things that, in my experiences professionally, right, working in the psychedelic and sacred space and leadership and performance conversations with all the type of professionals I work with, from Bucal to whatever, is like, I look at people too, and initially when they come to me, it looks like they got it all figured out. Eventually when we get behind the lens, right, I get to experience like what's falling apart, right? Like what's
Yeah.
what's in the background like that doesn't work. So, I kind of get the lens too, right? I don't go in looking at people going like, hey man, I know something's falling apart, right? Like I have deep
No.
respect for human beings and their humanity, and I'm pretty clear that life is lifing and they're dealing when life's a person shows up and they do what they're going to do, right? And I'm not there to judge them. So, I know that privately, in the background, there are things people fall apart over here. It's sort of the same thing. right? But so as we continue to wrap up, right, in our like our fun conversation, we'll kind of leave with this, right? What's one thing you thought adulthood was going to be that turned out completely different?
Wife, 3 bedroom house, dog in the front yard, garage in the back, 2 cars in the driveway. Didn't show, didn't. That's what I thought by this age. When I was a kid, that's what I saw. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, that's
What about you, BP? What's one thing you thought adulthood was going to be that turned out completely different?
Do what's here for me is I never left Neverland. And not only did I never leave Neverland, I wasn't even thinking beyond the Neverland. So perhaps what's opening up is me discovering. I'm looking with based upon the question you asked me. I'm like, maybe that's maybe that's part of the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
See,
I
I'm
when I
not trying to be funny, not trying to be funny or sound incompetent.
Yeah, no, listen, right? These are questions we're asking ourselves, right? We're just an exploration. I'm not sure what I thought, life, what adulthood was going to look like. Honestly, I don't think that I ever thought about it like that. Like, this is adulthood. I know as I became a father, as my kids started to age, right? That conversation started to change, right? Because of the responsibility you have for your children, dealing with their things. And then, maybe that's what adulthood is. But I don't think I've ever looked at it, through that lens, right? So that's what we're doing on the Black Classes podcast, right? We're asking these questions and we're just sharing it through the lens that we're seeing, and we're just open to, what conversations could support us to provide us more access, more power, more freedom, like to live fully self-express, alive, and have fun. And maybe be the person, Joe was talking about in 24 hours that makes 24K a year, or the guy who makes 24 hours makes 1 million. I don't know that that person's any happier, but right. But what's possible for both those people is to find, joy and freedom, right? So, yeah. So BP right now, like what's one thing would improve your life, but you're still avoiding?
A girlfriend.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, man, relationships are important,
Oh,
bro.
so look, I believe that having, a partner and having kids would definitely, I know it would for a fact, just by default, there's no getting around it. Like it's gonna,
You're ready for all of it. You're ready for all of it.
it like he's 25. Make sure they're having kids by at least 25. No, I do not endorse that. However, I definitely know that that would shift things up. So, and maybe for another episode, we can talk about intimacy, relationships, and maintaining, and how love can grow over time and such. So,
Oh yeah, no, super super cool. There's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of content. I have a lot of conversations around those too that I'll be happy to share and bring into the mix. But absolutely for sure. But you're ready for all of it. The one thing that would change your life is a relationship for sure. I think for a lot of people
that
it
and a
does
motor
that.
coach.
Oh, okay, yeah. What
You know
about
that.
you, Joe? What about you? What's one thing you know? Well, hold on, BP, real quick. Are you avoiding relationships? Because that was the question I asked, right? The
Oh, is
one,
that it?
yeah,
No, I
I'm
thought it was
saying
it was what is the one thing that would
change your life, but you still avoid doing.
oh
You know
yeah.
what? Maybe I didn't
Hmm.
ask that question thoroughly. So now let answer this one, right? What's one other thing that would change your life, but you still avoid doing?
Well, so no, it's yeah, okay. So really
I could tell you me. I'll share with
yeah,
me,
yeah.
like, being fully self-expressed, right? Like really just laying it out there on the line. Like I don't know if I want to be mad, I want to be cool, I want to be this, I want to be that, right? And then there's like, what are other people going to think? This, and that, and blah, 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 right? So, if I'm fully self-expressed, meaning like I don't hold back anything, I do everything I say I'm going to do. right? Or at least keep my word around it, right? Like, but what I'm clear about is just being free from judgment and opinion of
Mhm,
others. And I
mhm.
know it doesn't fucking matter. I know what other people think. Judge me doesn't matter, especially online, social media. But that is one
And you
thing
still get hit.
that I would change, but I still avoid doing because of what I think the impact might be on other people. Right. So what are you hearing, Joe? We'll come back to you.
Okay, bro, you're making it, you're saying it right now. For me, it's what to do for money and business for income with my time, my life. So I'll be in my life right now. All the thoughts you just shared are instead of in the what others think of me and having conflict of what I can't recall exactly what you said, the words you said right now, but I do retire personality, right? How you're gonna think. Okay, for me, how am I going to go about choosing actions around making money? Like, how bold am I going to be? Meaning, like, lay it all on the line, take every fucking nickel I have, go all in on something, and be in all in on that with like blinders on. Or no, that's not the answer. You can't work that way and live a healthy body with a healthy body. Again, all these fucking bad conversations in my head about how to have that income because I'll go to a forum, any sort of landmark course, and I'll come out of there extraordinary and just outrageous, right? And then I'll get life somewhere else to say, no, that can't. Money doesn't make you happy. It's not all about money. It's about this and that. I go, well, listen, I don't know what it's about. It might not be about money. My money might not make me happy, but being broke is not any fucking fun either. So, right. So
That's,
that's not a choice either. It's not a choice. So you got to make
that's
money.
clear as day. We
Yeah, it's
my
changing my
my
thoughts.
my wife and I were watching a show the other day, and it's a scene, these two people, they're in this first class Emirates airline. They're going, right? You see the seats, the fixtures, you just see the first class stuff. My wife and I always sit and like coach, we get the cheap seats. Number one, because we don't like to spend money like that.
Yeah, it's a waste of
And
right.
our trips aren't long enough. But she says, man, I would love to fly first class. It hit me for a second. It just hit me.
Birthday gift,
No,
possibly.
not it didn't hit me like a birthday gift, right? It hit me like, fuck, you know, I can't fly my wife first class like that freely,
Fucking A. Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
so it just how it hit me for a second.
Yeah.
It hit me, it pinged me, it hit something deeper inside. And then right now there's like, man, we're going to work it out. My wife's going to get exactly that. And then I'm going to listen to, oh my God, honey, I can't believe we spent this much money to fly first class. It wasn't even that good. Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't even the seat wasn't even that, I don't think that's going to be the case, but right. But that's where I went into that conversation. So,
Those are
so
first world.
yeah. So yeah, Joe, I love it, right? Like, being broke doesn't work either,
Those are
you
first
know?
world problems you just talked about, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I'm listening to you speak about that, right? And I'm saying to myself, where do I live? And where's my properties that I don't own, right? And my status is below that, right? The one that you're saying, oh, I can't make enough to even have my wife fly first class. And I'm listening to that conversation over here, going, I don't even own anything, right? And I'm saying, so what am I, right? And it's just like, bro, and we're both badasses in reality because it can get way worse from here, and we could be dead as well.
Well, yeah, I
And
mean,
so
listen, we're incredible human beings capable of recreation, refocusing ourselves, and transforming our lives like instantly. Like
yeah,
that's
dude,
possible, right? So
huge.
BP to come back to you, right? Because we got what would improve your life, right? A relationship. So then maybe are you avoiding relationships right now?
No, not exactly. It's a matter of it's just it's a couple factors. Um, Money does play into it. Travel,
Yeah, yeah.
age.
Like
I mean,
what
there's so many.
maybe those are some of the things in the background, right? Like you were talking about money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's attraction and like so like what comes down like what do I have to offer and such. And so I mean we take the finances out of it right now like a whole quite a bit, a whole lot, in fact. So and it's not that finances are missing. However, this is 2026, dating is no longer just we've got the internet and then we got
Yeah,
airplanes and we got first class.
right. I think, if I don't, I know I'm a little bit older than you, right? But dating before, and I was, we could go out, you can meet people. I just used to walk up to girls on the street and introduce myself.
Mhm.
I'd literally cross the street and go walk and introduce myself to someone. Or if I saw someone at a bar or anything like that, like I was going to go say hello. I still think people do that. I still know people go out and they introduce, but yeah, dating is a completely different game. I don't have the experience of any of the dating apps or anything like that. I've never
Well,
done anything like
just
that.
there's dating and then there's dating after. It's it's
Yeah.
it's there's
All
it's
right.
almost like menopause for men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, right, we got
Take
like,
the red pill.
some of the things that would change our life. So now let's explore
Can I
this
clarify? It's
Yeah.
strictly age related. It has nothing to do with performance.
You take the blue pill or the yellow pill?
I don't need either, dude. It's still 100% natural.
I need a pill
Me,
to put it down.
no
They don't have one.
pharmaceuticals.
That's all right. All right. So one last question, right? If life was a video game, what level are you guys honestly on right now?
Ooh,
Have fun.
dude, probably level 3, yet the setting is on like professional hard level, and
Got
and
it, got it. You
and
got the
no
setting. You're
cheat
playing.
codes, and it's the end boss.
All right, all right, all right. I got it. So you getting it there. What about you, Joe?
I'm
If
on
life were
level one, or outside the high school gates, high school graduation, gates of graduation, high school graduation, outside the gates. I'm either right there, whatever level that is, or level one. That's what I have. It's all in front of me.
Yeah. So I think if I were grading myself on a gaming and like the games I used to play were like Resident Evil, SOCOM, Rainbow Six. Like I love all those combat games and some of the fear games. But I used to always start on the easy level because I wanted to figure the game out, and work through it. And I never used to cheat. I had to cheat sometimes, right? After you couldn't get through a certain level sometimes, wherever I was getting that information back in the day. I don't remember if it was a book. I don't remember
Mhm.
but there was somewhere I was getting like information on how to complete the games. And then when my kids grew up, I was like, hey, don't use any cheat codes. If you're going to video game, try to figure the game out. Try so many times before you go to the cheat code. Now it's like the kids have the cheat codes, they're cheating the games out and all that. But yeah, but if I was grading myself if I was gaming myself, I think I'm probably like a 4 or 5. And I always, I used to beat the end boss, but that was after again, level one, getting some cheat codes, figuring out, doing it like 100 times. So yeah. So all
I'm
right.
curious, real
Yeah.
quick. Can I ask you this question? In
Ask.
your perspective, what your answer is, level 4 or 5. How many levels are you seeing in that game? If you could see that game, you know how many levels there are. How many are there? Because I'm just curious. I'm at level 1, you're at 4 or 5.
Well, I think if, maybe if not to bring it clear, like if we were looking level 1 to 10, that's probably the levels I'm talking about. So I'm somewhere in the middle.
10, right? Yeah. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what cool.
10 to me being the final boss. Like you walk in through the first game, you're one of those gamers that games so well. Right? You go to any game, you're already like at the final boss, the hardest level, like BP was talking about. He cranks up the games like, yo, give it to me as hard as you can, no mercy. Right? The dude that gets to the final boss on that guy's like a 9 and a 10, you know?
Did you know that I have you at, if I, now that I have 10 levels to pick from, I've held you at about, my whole time I've known you, I would say at level 8 or 9.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate that acknowledgement,
I'm
Joe,
serious.
right?
And
And I
achievements
got it.
with everything. Your
But
property.
I got that that's based on our interactions in life, right?
Yeah. And
You
it's not
know?
everything. Yeah, there's
And
much I
and
don't.
if you look at, if you just look at our little projects, things we've created over the last couple of years, right? We haven't produced everything we said we're going to produce. And if you get really honest, all that could be part of performance as well and, things like that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate I appreciate that acknowledgement, Joe, that you got me
No,
at the aim.
you're
The
welcome.
aim.
Welcome.
The one I'm waiting for, the big one I'm waiting for is for BP to be like, yo, you're the 10, man. You're
Dude,
the 10.
Hey,
dude,
you
that's
want to
how
know
it
some
started.
absolute
That's
gold that I
it.
love seeing in you, Angel? I was just this is real quick. This is fun talk right here. When you pop in the rooms, when we go into breakout rooms, okay, beyond the breakthrough. Okay, when we go in these breakout rooms, okay, I'm always in one, everyone's always in one. You beautifully pop in, you give this line, it's narrative or some instruction, you pop out, and you can always have direction for every conversation with every person everywhere the whole hour. And even when other people are doing their segment, and then you offer something or you bring it back to the center line, dude, that's all. And that's the gold, bro. Like I see, I'm like, fuck, this guy's sharp, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, right? That's an easy context. The Beyond the Breakthrough program that's available, right? It's a leadership performance conversation that I lead. I created the context, so I know the whole conversation, what's going on. So, maybe you're right. I am like the 9 and
You
the
look
10
so
boss.
smart when that happens,
Yeah.
though. This thing, he knows everything. The way it occurs to
Yeah.
me. Like,
Well, I don't know everything, but cool. Well, all right. Well, listen, everyone. Today's conversation wasn't about pretending that we have it all figured out, right? It was just three of us, me, Joe, and Brian, being honest about where we are. Life moves fast, time matters, choices matter, and maybe the opportunity isn't being perfect. Maybe it's finally becoming intentional. Practice equanimity. Life's gonna life. The question is, who are you when it does? This is the Black Glasses Podcast. Thanks for being with us today, everybody. Say goodbye, guys.
Ciao.